What's up? It's Alexander Madison, running back from the Minnesota Vikings, and you're watching Clock Management.
What is going on, everybody? It is the 17th of December, 2019. I am Justin, and as always, I'm joined by Die Hard.
Oh, yeah. Also, I go by Perry. And Justin,
yeah.
I was thinking if we were each socks, we'd make a great pair.
You would, but not as good of a pair as those movies you got over there.
A pair? It's a trilogy.
Wait, a trilogy. That's what I'm talking about. The full trilogy.
Tis the season.
Christmas. Yep, it's Christmas time, so get in the spirit.
We're about to. My wife has never seen it, so we've got plans to watch Die Hard for Christmas.
So you guys are temporarily divorced until you guys finish watching that.
Darn right. You can say goodbye to that.
All right. So it is. Yeah, we covered the date. It is.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, Fantasy Championship Week. That's what that means. So if you're in the championship, this is a big week. And if you're not in the championship, you should still be trying. Go ahead and get that third spot.
Justin, if you're in the main league championship on 3, go ahead and dab. 3, 2, 1. Oh, I dabbed the wrong way.
I think that means you're out.
No, I'm in. I'm still in.
As the commissioner, I'll fix it right now.
Hey, I'm co-commissioner. You can't fix it. I'll fix it.
You'll fix my fix?
Yeah. The fix is in.
Make sure you guys subscribe. We really want to gain some subscribers on here, so go ahead and do that.
Yeah, don't show anybody that dab because they won't want to stick around.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
sorry about that.
We'll have to edit that out or something.
There, I did it right.
We're gonna edit that one out.
Today's show, we have some stuff to cover. We got news to cover. Not a ton of news. There's a few pieces of news that we got to go over. Some guys coming back, so that'll be good to talk about. We've got news nobody cares about, of course, Justin's favorite. We got studs. We got duds. We got people that surprised us in both categories. So we got a lot to cover going into the championship week.
And we also have a winner of an autographed Mark Ingram jersey.
Signed.
Yeah, autographed by Mark Ingram.
Yes, with his own paws.
Yeah, I didn't witness it, but other people did, and they authenticated it.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, went rogue on that.
I
authenticated.
But
there we go.
Completely gave up on the English language.
Halfway through, I'm like, I could improv English.
Improv English. That would be a good name for a podcast, actually.
Yeah, podcast number 2 coming your way. Improv English. But yeah, speaking of the autographed Mark Ingram jersey, I wrote down the person's name so I wouldn't forget, as we just figured that out a second ago, and I have a horrible memory. And I'm happy to announce Gymnastic as our winner. I will be hitting you up on the comment section. Just send me an email with your contact information so we can make this happen.
Congratulations, man. Thanks for being a supporter. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love giving stuff away to people who support us. So thank you.
Yeah.
Perry, what's going on over there?
Let me think here. Just been hanging out. Been doing a lot of thrifting with producer Sean. It's kind of like a hobby that we both enjoy doing. So it's fun to go do that. That's where we got the Die Hard trilogy. Getting ready for a couple big events here. We've got number 1 Star Wars on Thursday. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to see it Thursday. Trying to make plans for either Friday or Saturday though.
I'm going Friday.
Yeah, pretty amped about Star Wars. I'm sure Justin and I will have a very nice conversation about it on the show. And then we got Christmas. Going to be going down to Colorado for that. New Year's, we got a trip up to the mountains for that. So I'm getting pretty pumped about all that. How about you? What you got going on?
I mean, Star Wars is just hours away at this point.
Yeah.
I'm counting down to that. I'm super excited. The next episode is probably going to be about 50-50 on Star Wars and football. So just prepare yourself for that. I haven't talked about The Mandalorian at all on the show. So now that next week, once the championship is over.
I will not allow Justin to spoil Star Wars on the show. I will not allow it, guys. Don't worry.
I will do my best not to, guys,
you will not.
but I will get so excited.
You will not. There will be no spoilers on this show. This is a spoiler-free zone.
But if you want some, just hit me up on the DMs and Twitter, okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Well, let's get into some news, Perry.
Yeah, I got lots. Not a lot. Actually, it's not a lot of news. Compared to the last couple of weeks, we had so many injuries the last few weeks. We actually have some returning players now, so that's great. Although it's just for essentially the fantasy championship, unless your championship's next week, which we've talked about it. It shouldn't be, but hey, we'll still give you guys some coverage going into that just in case.
And please get out of that league, please.
Yes,
for all of our sakes.
First piece of news here is DJ Chark is trending on returning for Week 16. He's been practicing for a while now. He's been cleared for running and cutting, which is great. Generally, these guys get cleared for running first. Cutting comes a lot later, and it's good to see that he's been cutting. If he does play, it's a juicy matchup against the Falcons. I might be okay with starting DJ Chark in 10, 12-team leagues or higher, or a deep dynasty league or something like that. How do you feel about DJ Chark?
I'm thinking if you're in the championship, you're probably not wanting to rely on him because you're probably two of the better teams in the NFL. But they did do decent against the 49ers last week for passing, but I think that's more the 49ers doing on their game plan. And I just held back an entire sneeze during that whole sentence. Oh, that was rough.
That was impressive. That's what professionals do. Nicely done. I think with Gardner Minshew there, depending on your situation, if you lost Chris Godwin this week, which we might talk about, or which we will talk about, excuse me, he might be the guy. He might be there. I'm just saying he's not like an auto bench for me.
No, yeah, I agree with you with that.
All right, let's move on here. AJ Green, this is just more because I wanted to bring it up to you, Justin. Will miss the final 2 games of the season.
That's it. I'm dropping him.
I was correct before the season even started when I told you guys he might not play a game this year. AJ Green officially will not play a game this season.
Yeah, he's going to see a foot specialist in LA.
Yeah, I don't think that he will be on the team in 2020. I think that he might be in the NFL. We'll curious to see where he goes.
Yeah, he'll definitely be in the NFL. I just don't know where.
Yeah. All joking aside, I feel bad for AJ. I wish that he could have played, but it is fun to know that he's been on Justin's bench and Justin can't drop him. Chris Godwin was hurt in last week's game with a hamstring injury. He did not practice today. We're recording this actually on Tuesday. He did not practice. It is not looking good going into Week 16. With Mike Evans out, Chris Godwin potentially out for the championship, I actually think Brashad Perryman might be a really good start this week. Jameis is going to throw the ball like crazy. We were wrong about Jameis last week when I said we both said he'd be terrible. He still threw 4 touchdowns and only 1 interception. So,
which blows my mind. Was his thumb the problem? He needed to break his thumb to play better? Maybe.
Brashad Perryman, definitely consider starting him this week. Look at your lineup, see if you can fit him in.
And Perryman's big knock on him his entire career has been that he drops the ball. He's had 1 drop this season.
Yeah.
He's done very well this season. When you look at his targets to catches, it's not that impressive. But a lot of those were bad targets. Not so much on him for those. So I think that's something that you could, like Perry's saying, he's got a good matchup with good quarterback play.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston, the number 5 quarterback
in fantasy.
In fantasy.
Pretty insane.
Yeah, just as we all thought at the beginning of the season, right?
With Jameis, just if you guys are curious, he played very well. I don't think he's in any danger of missing this week against Houston. And I'm just going to eat my words from last week and say it's okay to start him if you want to start him. Juju Smith-Schuster remains questionable for Week 16 against the Jets. Even if he suits up, are you able to trust him at all? Let me ask you in a better way. Brashad Perriman or Juju Smith-Schuster?
I'm going Perryman.
Yeah, DJ Chark or Schuster?
See, that one's closer for me, but I'm still going Chark.
Okay, yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I might go Smith-Schuster over Chark, but no, I like Gardner Minshew. I'm gonna go DJ Chark. Yeah. So I wouldn't start Juju. Period. I just wouldn't. It's too dangerous.
Yeah, he keeps getting ducked.
Josh Jacobs with his shoulder is still in a lot of pain. It was reported that on Sunday he had a really tough time even taking off his shoulder pads after the game. Jacobs stated on Twitter that he only played for the city, and he didn't exactly play well. So if Gruden lets him go back out there again, because let's be clear, Josh Jacobs is going to play if they're going to let him play. Are you going to start him? You doubled, or last week you said you'd start him no matter what, or over the few guys I mentioned.
Yeah. So last week he did get the carries, like the quantity of carries he got, what you wanted to see, but the production wasn't there for him. If they were to start him, I would play him again, but I don't think they're going to start him.
I'm not sure I'd play him, to be completely honest with you. It's kind of exactly what I was saying last week with, we don't know, right? The fact that he can't even take his pads off without probably some assistance, it sounds like, that scares me. If he takes one good hit, he's done. And in the championship game, I don't want to lose that way. So I would not start Josh Jacobs, but I think that's a risk that you guys are just going to have to take on your own. And then the last piece of news I have, like I said, not a lot today. Dalvin Cook is reporting that he feels a whole lot better and could return for Week 16. He was removed from Week 15 last week with the shoulder injury, but he says he's feeling good. Mike Zimmer says that he's handling a normal workload, or if he can handle a normal workload in practice, that he'll start, but it's too early to tell at this point. We'll probably be talking about him later in the week on what you should be doing with Dalvin Cook. But the big news here is Alexander Mattison is not an auto start right now for the NFL. He might not be playing in Week 16. He was also pulled from he missed Week 15. So just be prepared that you might not have one of those Vikings running backs at all, which is unfortunate because we've been saying Alexander Mattison is a must-own in case Cook goes down and then Mattison gets hurt at the same time. So that's super unfortunate.
Boone is there. He did just fine with both of them out. So I think he's a guy you might want to pick up if both of them are still out.
Yeah, definitely. Justin, you got some news that nobody cares about?
I do.
Okay.
Matt,
you want to share?
I guess, yeah. Why not? I mean, it is a podcast and also it wouldn't do us much good if I didn't. Matt Patricia returning as the Lions head coach.
Surprising.
Yeah, surprising. I think they have 3 wins.
Yeah, Matt Patricia has not done a stellar job, in my opinion, as a head coach.
No, and with how terrible they've done the past few years under him, shocking.
Yeah.
Gardner Minshew said about playing in Oakland, he's never seen so many middle fingers in his life.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, it's Oakland. It was their last game in Oakland, and he was destroying them. So they weren't too happy with him or kind.
Oh boy! All right, Minshew mania.
Yeah, Marcus Peters got fined $14,000 for a celebratory beer he had with a fan. He jumped into the stands and drank a fan's beer.
I've seen guys in baseball do that. It happens actually more often than you think. They run up and for a foul ball, they don't catch it, and they grab somebody's beer and take a sip. It's actually pretty funny.
Yeah, and he got fined $14,000 for it. He's probably just thirsty.
Yeah, man, come on.
All that running and jumping.
Jumping.
Mark Ingram, post-game interview about Lamar Jackson. The two of them were standing there together. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
I was just wondering, why don't you look at me the way Mark Ingram looks at Lamar Jackson, Perry?
I mean, I'm not carrying us to 12 wins or whatever, or you're not carrying us to 12 wins.
Oh, and that's all the news no one cares about.
Right on. All right. Let's move into some studs and duds from week 15. I mean, it's already Tuesday, so this is old news at this point, but it's important to talk about. There's some interesting performances here.
The waiver wire for the people in the championship are going for third place. So
yep. All right, let's start with the studs. Here's a guy that kind of came out of nowhere. He was on my wife's bench, and I played my wife in the semifinals. And I even said to her, I was like, I would not have advised you to start this guy. And that's Kenyon Drake, running back for Arizona Cardinals. 39 fantasy points. He had 4 touchdowns. Pretty insane. 137 rushing yards. Do you think that this could happen again next week against the Seahawks?
I mean, sure. Likely to happen? Absolutely not. The 4 touchdowns part, especially, like 137 rushing yards. I mean, yeah, he could repeat that. He's probably also not going to repeat that, but he's got a lot better chance of repeating that than 4 touchdowns. Go ahead.
I think he is an auto start for me in my flex, because that's probably where he's been, right? As you can slide him into your flex. If you're lucky enough to have him, put him in your flex. You probably have 2 other good running backs, especially if you made it to the championship. And I think you're getting RB1 numbers from him next week. I really do think that he's going to be in the top 12 of running backs next week in a flex position. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to continue to start Kenyon Drake. This guy feels silly to even mention at this point, but that's Lamar Jackson with 37 fantasy points. Is Lamar Jackson... I mean, he's got to start putting up like 50s every week for him to be a stud. This is just the norm now.
Yeah. He just, I mean, that's not even stud numbers for him. He just did Lamar Jackson things. Okay, do something special if you want to make this list.
Yeah, no kidding. Only 212 yards from Lamar Jackson. A really pedestrian day. I mean, he threw for 5 touchdowns, but come on, man. Only 212 passing yards. Yeah, Lamar Jackson. This guy's incredible. How high do you draft Lamar Jackson next year, Justin?
That's the thing. I'm still like, because there's gonna be a Lamar Jackson next year. You know what I mean? Like a quarterback goes undrafted, who's gonna finish in the top 5. So I'm probably picking Lamar Jackson somewhere around the 4th to 5th round, which I think is kind of high for a quarterback. But I know he won't be on the board at that point.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think if he fell to the 5th, I'd take him, but he will not be there in the 5th.
Yeah, because I would probably take him in the 4th if he was still there. So I'd probably take him around before what you even would. And I know he won't be there in the 4th. So
I guess I'm just not willing to pass on my 2 starting running backs and 2 starting receivers for a quarterback. But it's a question that we're going to get a lot in the offseason. So be prepared to answer that 100 times. Let's move on here. Julio Jones finally comes through in a big way for fantasy owners.
Man, I was super nervous because I told someone to start him over Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek Hill had a pretty good game, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna be wrong.
Julio Jones, 31 points, 13 receptions, 134 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Here's the crazy stat of the day for him, though: 20 targets for Julio. Calvin Ridley goes down, and Julio benefited. Definitely be excited about next week.
And Hooper got that touchdown taken away, and then they went to Julio on it at the end of the game.
Be excited for next week against the Jags and Julio. If you're in the championship with Julio, that could be very good.
Yeah. I got one.
Oh, yeah. I've just been rolling here.
I got you. I'm like, let me just jump in here. Saquon Barkley.
Oh,
yeah. He's been a underperformer here lately.
To say the least, my friend.
Yeah. And now he had 24 carries for 112 yards and 2 touchdowns this last week. He came back, and next week he's playing Washington. So that's another great matchup for him. I think you can start him.
I think a lot of people that had Saquon, though, might not have made it to the championship because of how he's performed and the injuries. So if you did get him, or maybe you grabbed him on a buy low trade at some point in the season, good job. This is when you want him to peak right now, and he's peaking. So he also had 4 receptions for 31 yards, which that's just icing on the cake.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead. I stole like 4 in a row or 3 in a row.
No problem.
So.
I got this one. Easy E, another running back here. Ezekiel Elliott from Cowboys, obviously. They decided that they're going to run the ball again, go back to their roots, and gave him a ton of carries, and he got 160 yards and 2 touchdowns. So right there, right above Saquon Barkley's numbers. And next week they play Philadelphia, which is also a good matchup. But I don't think there is any question whether you're going to start Zeke or not anyway.
Yeah, Zeke's been fine all season. Not where you drafted him to be. You and I both had Zeke as possible number 1. I think we had McCaffrey probably just above him. But, 24 carries is the most carries he's had all season. And, he had 28 against the Jets in week 6. But 24 carries. He needs to be at that number or higher every week if the Cowboys want to win. And the Cowboys need to win this game if they want to make the playoffs. So, good to see Zeke back where he should be. I hope it continues.
Yeah, Chris Carson, another one that is due to the number 2 person at that position going down. Yep. Penny went down with injury. Chris Carson gets 24 carries, which is the second most he's had all season. He had 133 yards, 2 touchdowns, did great against Carolina, and again with a great matchup next week against Arizona. That's great from these guys that are tearing it up this week because they all have great matchups next week too.
Yep, definitely. Chris Carson, Justin, I told you to start him. It doesn't matter matchup at this point with Chris Carson. He's going to get so much work that you just have to put him in. So really like Chris Carson going forward. We don't need to talk about Christian McCaffrey. We know where he's at. Man. Yeah. He's always there. Come on.
I got to get this one real quick.
Yeah, do it.
Myles Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. So Myles Sanders killed it. We were telling you before with if Howard came back that you might not want to start Myles Sanders. Howard didn't come back. And if you guys were following me on Twitter and everywhere else, I was telling you, start Myles Sanders. You have to start him this week with Howard out, and they fed him the ball. So he killed it for you. He probably won you your week.
Yeah. Darian, friend of the show, texted me the morning of and asked if he should play Myles Sanders. And it was hard. I remember you and I were a little apprehensive going into the last show.
We didn't know if Howard was playing.
And well, there was that. And there was also Boston Scott. And Darian had a pretty funny comment. He's like, Boston Scott sounds like the name of a grocery store, bakery. Like you buy some Boston Scott bagels. It was pretty funny. It had me laughing Sunday morning. Let's move on here. Brashad Perryman. We already talked about him earlier in the show, but just what he did last week with Evans out, now Godwin out, it just shows you what you could be getting here. 113 yards and 3 touchdowns last week. So out of nowhere, Brashad Perryman went off, and I expect that to continue next week. I really think he might be my start of the week, and I don't really hear a lot of people talking about him currently. So you guys can get a leg up on your competition this week. Ooh, yep. You can take the next one. I don't want to talk about him.
Anthony Miller, wide receiver for Chicago. Perry loved this guy early, like before the season started, and then the season started and he just did Perry dirty. So now Perry he's scorned.
Yeah.
But he had a great day. He had 9 catches, 118 yards and a touchdown against the Packers. I think this one of those games, I'm probably not playing him against Kansas City next week. I think when Packers and Chicago play each other, like stuff like this happens. You see unnormal games from them as their rivals. So I'm probably not playing him next week.
I'm not playing him just because the full product shows. I mean, it hasn't shown me enough all season, right? But I will admit that he's done this twice in the last 3 games. So if you wanted to argue with me, I'd hear your argument. I wouldn't call you crazy, but I don't want to do it, man. I'll take this one, I guess. Tony Pollard, running back for Dallas with 21 fantasy points. He only had 12 carries and he put 131 rushing yards up. I honestly think that this is probably more to do with the fact that they could not stop the run. They just could not stop the run. I don't think Tony Pollard really has value next week, starting value. It's just too risky with Zeke there. So I would just start Zeke, Tony Pollard. Sorry, he's a handcuff and is no longer needed at this point.
Yeah. Also, we got Mike Boone, who I referenced earlier. He had 13 carries for 56 yards and 2 touchdowns, which are they're decent numbers. The 2 touchdowns definitely boost him up in like fantasy scores and rankings. But it, like I said before, if both the other 2 are out, Madison and Dalvin, then you can start Mike Boone. But if either one of them are playing, then don't start Mike Boone.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to some duds. Justin, you ready for some duds?
Oh, I am.
Okay, I'll do this one because I was pretty high on him, so I'm gonna take my medicine on this one, and that's Melvin Gordon. I told you guys you could probably start both Eckler and Gordon this week. They both kind of underperformed. Eckler did much better than Gordon did. 7 carries for 28 yards. He did have 5 receptions for 36 yards. So if you're in any kind of point per reception league, that kind of bailed him out a little bit for you. But really disappointing with Melvin Gordon. It could have been that Minnesota defense. They had a really good game. Minnesota, their defense is starting to pick up here towards the end of the season. Against Oakland next week, I'm going to double down. I'm going to say that you could probably start Melvin Gordon next week.
I'm going to skip ahead to a player that I had told people that they could start. Emmanuel Sanders, wide receiver for the 49ers. He had 2 catches for 9 yards. Now, I mean, he didn't do anything wrong. Falcons' pass defense is not amazing. I think this was all just the way that Shanahan wanted to run their offense. Everything went through their running backs and their tight ends. Kittle was hyper targeted, and he had an amazing game. Next week, they play the Rams. It's a tougher pass defense, but I'm going to, like Perry said, I'm sticking with you can start Emmanuel Sanders next week.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about Julian Edelman real quick because I think people are probably upset with how he performed last week against Cincinnati. It was just a product of the game, man. They dominated that game so heavily that they did not need to pass the ball. Tom Brady only completed 15 passes on the night, so Edelman wasn't necessary. I think next week against Buffalo, this is a very, very important game. They're playing for the division, essentially. Buffalo has a great defense. They're going to need Tom Brady's going to need those under routes that Edelman's going to be running constantly. Start Edelman next week. Don't be scared to start him.
Plus, they don't have Buffalo's play calls.
That's correct. Yeah, they don't already know what they're going to call. Yeah.
We got Amari Cooper, another disappointing one. With he had 1.9 fantasy points in non-PPR, and this, just like Perry said with Edelman, same situation. They had a big lead and ran the ball a bunch. So next week they're playing Philadelphia. Again, you could probably start Amari Cooper with no problem.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. I'm going to talk about Derrick Henry real quick. I did mention last week or last show, Derrick Henry's injury might slow him down a little bit, that his floor got a little lower, but his ceiling was still very high. I'm going to double down on that this week. I think his floor is a little lower than what we're used to. He's still going to get the 18 to 24 carries. So that's great. Those are numbers that you want to hear, but they're playing New Orleans, another really strong defense. And with that, that injury slowing him down, just temper your expectations, but I don't think you can sit Derrick Henry at this point. Justin?
Yeah, go ahead and take the next one, Perry. I'm looking something up right now.
Oh my gosh, you're just playing Candy Crush, aren't you? Next guy I want to talk about, Leonard Fournette. This one hurt me. Luckily, I won anyways, but it does, I would like to see better production out of Leonard Fournette. He's been slow the last 3 weeks, essentially, totaling 38, 50, and 42 yards against Tampa Bay, the Chargers, and Oakland. These aren't very good defenses. I don't know what's really going on here with that. Against Atlanta, though, I am actually telling you that I will be starting Leonard Fournette in the championship. So Leonard Fournette will be in my starting lineup, and I think he should be in your starting lineup. The fact that he's involved in the passing game gives you that safe floor. I mean, we're 3 weeks removed from a 9-reception game for Leonard Fournette. So I'm going to continue to start him. I'm going to hope that he breaks 100 yards, 100 total yards, another 5 to 7 receptions. Leonard Fournette's pretty safe. You want me to keep going here, man?
Yeah, one more and then I'm ready.
Oh my gosh, listen to this guy.
I know.
Last one I want to talk about is Jarvis Landry. Poor Jarvis Landry has been he's been playing so well all season on such a bad team. Arizona made the Browns look really, really bad. I don't know if you can start Jarvis Landry next week against Baltimore. I don't think you can. Baltimore's been too good. The Browns have been too bad. I don't think I'm going to start him. I'm going to advise you guys not to start Jarvis Landry against Baltimore this week.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think I would start him. That's a great defense, and the Browns' offense just has not been clicking. Landry has been the one point that until this week that has still been salvageable in their receiving core. But yeah, against that great defense, I want it. Yeah.
What were you looking up there? What was so important?
Yes. So I had, as I said before, I had, we just gave away this autographed Mark Ingram jersey, and I wanted to have something special for everyone for the championship week. So for this episode and our next episode going into the championship week. Mm-hmm. So I had to check out to make sure I had this before I promised it. But I'm going to, as the season MVP Lamar Jackson just broke a young Michael Vick's record for rushing rushing yards for a quarterback. I am going to be giving away an autographed Michael Vick jersey to a random commenter on one of these 2 videos.
Right on.
So you guys could get your autographed Michael Vick jersey. Just leave a comment on the videos, and this week you could win.
Right on. That sounds good. That covers all of my duds, Justin. You got anything else you want to cover?
No. So again, I just want to say we appreciate all of you guys making it through the season. It's been long and arduous. So thank you for taking this voyage with us, and we hope you continue with us through the off season, and we'll try and make it entertaining and fun and still drop some football knowledge for you guys.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that we've only been doing this one season. We already have 340 subscribers on YouTube. That surpasses Justin and I's expectation of what would happen this season. So thank you so much for your guys' support. Justin and I can plan on going all year long. We might reduce down to 1 episode a week. Maybe we'll do a bonus episode a week. We got some fun stuff planned for the NFL playoffs. We got some fun stuff planned for Super Bowl week. So we got things in the works. Please stay tuned. Please go check out merch that has our logo on it, man. Go represent out in the real world for us, and just keep showing people the show. Show your friends. We're going to keep putting it out there for you.
And have a great day, everyone. We'll see you guys on Friday.